Hello, Mr. K here again. We're going to talk about preventative maintenance. This is part 2. If you haven't seen part 1, make sure you go back and find that and watch that now, because you might be a little bit lost in this one if you didn't see part 1. So part 1, we talk about visual inspection and just using your senses, smelling transmission dipsticks, seeing if the fluid smells burnt, looking for leaks, looking for missing bolts, that type of thing. This one is more actually replacement. So parts and fluid replacement can be a form of preventative maintenance. All right. We're going to talk about what is a maintenance schedule or service interval, what parts do you replace, and what fluids are we going to replace and how often, and how do we know how often to do that? Okay, this is a typical maintenance schedule. This is one, I don't know what vehicle this is from, but if you go and just buy a push mower at Walmart, you're going to get So if you get even a push mower at Walmart, you're going to get something like this in the manual. Even if it comes with a 3-page manual, owner's manual, you're going to get something like this. And it'll tell you how often you need to replace spark plug, how often you need to change the oil, air filter, that type of thing. And the idea behind this is that if you follow this maintenance schedule, that your whatever it is, vehicle, motorcycle, dirt bike, lawnmower will last as long as possible because you're following what the company is recommending that you do to maintain it. But there's a little more to it than that. It does keep your warranty valid also, another thing to remember. And of course, aside from longest life, you're going to have more efficiency and more power if you do these things to maintain it. Okay, so let's look up, see if we can find a maintenance schedule or a service schedule for a 99 Dodge pickup with the 5.2 liter. So go into Shop Key, click the drop down and select maintenance. And it's going to show you right off the bat a maintenance schedule. And this comes from, from Dodge. Okay, it's going to show you right off the bat what they're recommending you do to keep this vehicle in top running condition. And you can see the things, this is at 7,500 miles, you can see the things that, that they're listing look pretty normal. Check the exhaust system, check the hoses for leaks, check brake lines. Okay, lubricate steering linkage, change the engine oil. Sounds reasonable, right? 15,000 miles, all those things again. This time they want you to change the filter. And I'll pause for a second here because you've probably been taught that you should change the oil and filter every 3,000 miles. However, that is not what the companies typically recommend, especially on these newer cars. So notice Dodge is telling you don't even change the oil filter until 15,000 miles. If you change it at 3,000 miles, you're actually just wasting money most of the time. If you take an oil filter and you cut it apart after a 3,000 mile oil change, it's going to look pretty clean. There's not going to be hardly any metal, dirt, anything like that inside. It's just going to be a tinted, the paper element will just be a tinted color of used oil, but it's really not worn out yet. As you can see, as the miles keep going up, they keep giving you more things to check and replace and inspect. Once you hit 75,000 miles, it starts getting a little more interesting. They talk about replacing the coolant, replacing the transfer case fluid. It still looks pretty standard, right? Notice once they get up to 120,000 miles, it stops. And then we're looking at the maintenance schedule goes on, but this is what the employees of, or the person who wrote this in Shop Key is doing just to help you out, help the vehicle owner out. But Dodge stops giving you suggestions at 120,000 miles. Okay. And you're going to ask, why is that? Because surely they know their vehicles are going to last longer than 120,000 miles. Or there's a few reasons for that. We're going to cover that here in another slide. But first of all, I can tell you for a fact that they don't design their vehicles to last longer than 120,000. They're designed, all the parts, at least in the powertrain system, are designed to fail at 120,000. By then, the warranty is up. By then, the person who bought the vehicle brand new probably doesn't even own it anymore. And those are the people that they're trying to sell cars to. They're not trying to sell cars to people like you and me who are the second, third, fourth, fifth owners down the road. They're trying to keep it going at 200,000 miles. They don't care about people like us. We're not the one giving them 60 grand for a brand new truck. They care about the people who bought it new and who are going to sell it after 5 years when it has 50,000 miles on it and go back, trade it in, get a new one again. Those are the people they're trying to impress. So they stop at 120,000. They're not made to last any longer than that. Of course, they will last longer than that if you take care of them. You guys know that. But they're actually factory designed. That's the failure mileage. If you keep going, Shopkey will stop at 300,000 miles because at that point, they just say, well, you're on your own after this. But notice they just kind of repeat the same things that Dodge recommended in the early stages. So you may or may not have noticed that maintenance schedule was actually missing a lot of things. And just off the top of my head, when I made this PowerPoint, here are some things that I thought of that it was missing. See if you agree or if you think of any other things. Okay, brake fluid, didn't talk about that. Fuel filter, O2 sensor, that's a tune-up item. Valve lash. Notice we just keep going. I did not see it talk about any of these things. Why? Why did they not put all these on that list? Surely they want the vehicle to last forever, right? Or as long as possible. Well, if that was the case, then they'd never sell any new trucks, right? If they told you every possible thing that's recommended to keep the vehicle in service, then they'd last 800,000 miles and they wouldn't sell any trucks. So they don't want to do that. They want it to last long enough that people are satisfied, but they don't want it to last forever. Another thing is those parts are going to change based on driving habits. So if you have grandma that's just driving this truck to church and the grocery store every Sunday, it's going to need a lot different maintenance than someone in Park County who's using it to pull hay wagons and off-road and get through the woods and hook up to huge trailers. It's going to change the maintenance schedule quite a bit. Another thing is if they put all those things on the maintenance schedule to someone who's looking at a new truck and they're trying to decide between a Dodge, Ford, or Chevy, if they see that the Dodge has a zillion things on the maintenance schedule, they're going to shy away from it. They're going to say, well, I don't want to buy a vehicle that needs all that maintenance. So it scares people off. So how do you fill in the gaps? How do you maintain your vehicle beyond what the maintenance schedule tells you to do, because you guys actually want it to last? So you can wait for the item to fail, right? That's not really much maintenance though. You just wait for it to fail and then you replace it. That's not preventative maintenance. You can Google it online, see what people commonly replace. You can ask someone who's familiar with the vehicle. You can use the things that you learned in the previous lecture on preventative maintenance, visual inspection, and start trying to catch those things early, the leaks and the cracks and all that. Or you can actually dig deeper in the shop manual, and that's what we're going to do right now. So let's say that you want to learn more about how to maintain the transmission in your Dodge 1500. Pull up Shopkey again. So make sure your vehicle is selected up top. Go down to Service Manual. Click on the item that you want to dig more into. So we're going to click on Transmission. We're going to click on Automatic Trans because that's what this truck has. When you click on Automatic Trans, this drop down comes up. You're going to go to Automatic Trans Servicing. Well, look, Adjustments. And when we click on Adjustments, look at all these things you can adjust. Now, why weren't all of those on the original maintenance schedule? Because they don't want them to be, because the company doesn't want their truck to last forever, and they don't want to scare off new buyers by putting all these things on that maintenance schedule. So I just picked one here. If you pick, I think I picked the low reverse band. And lo and behold, it has a whole procedure on how to adjust the band, the low reverse band. Yes, it's a little bit in depth. You have to drop the transmission pan, but still, why not put that on the original maintenance schedule so you can make your transmission last longer? Okay. So I'm just going to give you a basic, kind of my basic list. So use the maintenance schedule on the vehicle. And then if you really want to do it right, dig through the manual for every component and see what you should do. But I'm just going to give you a rough idea here of what I would do. U-joints, they're not real expensive to replace, but they're annoying. It's kind of a rough job. And they have Zerk fittings, so there's no reason to not grease them at every oil change. If you're having trouble visualizing where these are, the rear axle will be back here. Transmission would be up here. And these just take up, these allow flex between the rear axle as it travels up and down when you hit bumps in the car. And they have pathways inside for grease to travel. At least most of them do. All right. This is typically not a maintenance schedule, but I would definitely look into if you can do it on your vehicle quite easily. This is adjusting the bands. Okay, on Fords and on older Dodges, you don't even need to drop the pan or anything to do this. All you need is a torque wrench and an open end 9/16 or 5/8 wrench, and you can adjust the bands. And it will greatly extend the life of your transmission if you keep them adjusted correctly. And it's free. That's how you do it on a lot of them. Fuel filters, that was not on the list either. Excuse me. Maintain those, replace those. That's what they're going to look like on probably most of the vehicles you guys will work on. They're going to be under the car, along the frame rail, typically. All right. So to sum it up, use what you learned in visual inspections, the previous lecture. Make sure you're just watching for those things that are obvious, looking for leaks, looking for cracks, bolts missing. Smell the transmission fluid, smell the engine oil. Dig through the manual in each section if you really want to dig in deeper. Ask experienced mechanics for advice or what typically goes wrong on those vehicles that you should be maintaining. At this point, go ahead and move on to completing your assignment on preventative maintenance, part 2. And have a good day.